Hi everybody. So today I'm going to share with you some of my favorite watercolor tips and tricks and surprises. I've been painting in watercolor for many years and I really love it. It's one of my very favorite mediums, and so I can't wait to share with you some of the things I've learned and put into practice in my own art study. So let's get started and I will meet you inside. Today I have Caran D'ache Studio Gouache. Comes with a white gouache. This is a replacement. These colors are absolutely gorgeous. It doesn't come with a lot of colors, but it comes with 14 and the white gouache. This is the Kuretake Gansai Tambi Japanese watercolors. These are gorgeous and I love this set. This is one of my favorite sets of watercolor. They are not super portable. I wish they were like half pans in a portable container, but they are not. I re-wet my watercolors with a spray bottle because it just keeps them nice and moist while I'm working with them. And today I'm going to work on small pieces of paper just because it's easier sometimes to do demo pieces that way. Now, I'm just going to show you a couple of the ones I've been doing recently that are, let me just get them out here. These have been, a lot of these were in my shorts feed. So, a lot of these were videoed, shorts videos. And so these were made super fast and wet. But a lot of them will show layering techniques and very wet process. This one was done mostly with the gouache, and you can see that it's much more opaque than the other ones. So because they were shorts, they had to be done super quick. Now I do edit them down, but these were all done in less than 5 minutes probably because they were shorts. So these are just kind of really quick studies. That's what I do when I do a short. So they're really fun to do. And then, let me see. I also did some of these kind of studies this week, which were washes that I had dried, and then I painted over. Now everything, all the colors are still super vibrant, and there's no mud anywhere on any of these little paintings. These were shorts that I painted on. Now I've got green and hot pink right here, and I painted the green straight over the pink. Same thing here, lots of green over pink. And we've got green, and we've got all these colors like just painted over other colors. And the whole reason I'm able to do this is because this underpainting, which is just a very wet wash, and in this case a very wet wash, was bone dry before I came back in and painted on top. So you can do these like this, you know, as long as it's dry. And so if you can either be very patient, or you can use a blow dryer. And I use a blow dryer a lot when I'm painting. Okay, that's one way to do it. So a lot of times what I do, if you were taking a class from me, I would have you work on these little small paintings like this. So we would do a whole bunch of backgrounds, blow dry them, and work on a bunch at the same time. Because sometimes we get too precious about the painting we're working on. But if you're working on a series of studies, you have a whole bunch of things to work from, and it keeps your eyes fresh, and you can, you know, just keep going. So I'll set up, you know, flowers or pots of little pots of flowers or stuff, and we can work on several ideas at the same time, and you don't get blind to your painting. You just keep going from one fresh idea to another. So that is my suggestion if you're going to paint along or do this exercise, would be to get a small watercolor pad. This is 140 pound. It's not expensive paper. This is just a little 140 pound 6x9 inch one. This one is a little bigger. This one is the Cotman. Let me see. Switches by Winsor Newton. This was probably more expensive, but I don't even know. Does it have the size here? Probably not. Nope. 10x7. So it's just a little bigger than the other one. So these are nice. You know, you can just paint your backgrounds in and go for it. All right, so I'm going to show you one of these washy backgrounds first on the smaller pad. All right. Now I mostly paint with a number 8 brush. Almost everything I do is painted with the number 8. And I'm going for the Caran D'ache Studio Gouache. Even though it's gouache, it's pretty transparent. I mean, it's a really beautiful paint. So what I've been doing with these is just giving myself a little bit of a contrasting color, maybe a complementary color, so in the washy part of it. So here I am, I'm coming in, I'm just doing a little bit of like a green background. I'm letting it touch, I don't care. I mean, this is just real wet. Putting 2 like really wet washes on here. Okay, and there's a background. I'm going to pull this one off, and I'm going to stick it aside, and then I'm going to do another one. And this one I think I want to do like a lemon yellow, which is the cool yellow. They have a beautiful cool and a warm, one warm yellow on this palette of gouache. So I'm going to do that. Now I'm coming in here, and I don't care if I mix the gouache with the watercolor, of course. And then I came in and I got a blue. Came into a beautiful, vibrant blue, more of a cool blue. I don't mind if they touch a little. Now I have 2 backgrounds here. I'm going to put these here. And then I'm going to blow dry. So Okay. And these are just little studies, so I'm not going to worry about stretching paper or any of that other stuff. This is just like if we were out in the field or we were... When I travel, I don't worry about any of that stuff. I just take it. Sometimes I don't rip it out of the book even. And then I kind of want to think about maybe creating one of those little studies I did with the painting or the drawing on top, with a little pot shape, and you know, let's see. I think what I want to do is I want to get a color here. I'm not sure. Okay. All right. So now I'm just gonna start painting. That not a lot of people know that you can do with watercolor, that I love to do, is to take a piece of watercolor paper. Now we're doing small pieces, but like when I normally do these things, I don't do a small piece. I do a really large piece, and there's so much we can do with them. So today we're going to do small piece and just show you the technique, and you can go crazy with it later. Okay, so we're going to take a piece of paper, and I like, because this needs to be wet, I'm going to actually spray my piece of paper. I have it on one of my porcelain trays here, and I'm going to get started with some of this really beautiful color, and I'm going to put, I might use more than one color here on this piece of paper. I'm going to let the colors bleed into each other. I don't just want this to be wet. I want a lot of pigment on here as well. So so this is very pigment dense and very rich right now. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, it's very wet, it's very pigment dense. There's one place right here that needs more pigment, I could tell. You want it to be very saturated and very wet here. Okay, so now I have some leaves that I collected outside. These are dandelion leaves. Now, this is just an experiment. So I'm putting them down on my paper with the bumpy side down. I'm flattening them out so I get the shape of the leaf on here. Now I'm going to put the flowers down this way. I'm gonna put a few flowers. Okay, now the most important thing is that we're going to be adding a piece of like saran wrap or cling wrap. And when you put it on, you want to crinkle it up and let it stick to the wetness of the paper. I don't know if you can see what's happening under there. And let it absorb, you know, let it go where the water's pooling up. And you really want to squish it all down. And what this does is it's going to create a monoprint on your paper. So what you do is you kind of like manipulate the water that's already on your paper into the plastic film, and then you're going to want to put something on top of it to weight it, like a book or something heavy that covers the entire. This isn't going to work. It's got to be bigger. It's got to be flatter. I'm going to find something that works better. All right, so this is probably better. Okay, so this pencil set fits better. So I'm going to start stacking stuff that's heavy on top of it. All right, so now I'm going to put some weight on that, and then I'm going to let that. And now I'm going to weight this and leave it overnight to dry. And when we come back, we should have a really beautiful monoprint that we can further embellish with Neocolor crayons, more watercolor or watercolor pencils, and really further develop it if we choose to. Or we can leave it just as it is, depending on how it comes out. Okay, so these next ones are like just these little plant studies or these little flower studies. Super wet and wet technique. Very fun to do. If you wanted to do this one, I don't think even had a drawing, but I'm going to show you how you can do them. If you don't like the graphite lines, because sometimes graphite can smudge, you can use either a pale blue or a pale lavender or red colored pencil to draw, and it will disappear. This one does have a graphite or a colored pencil drawing under it. I think all I had on my table that day was green, and this one has, like, I don't mind ever seeing pencil marks on a drawing. So this one has green underneath, but you can barely see it. Unless you were holding it in your hand, you probably couldn't even see it. This one has, I think I see a hint of red, but unless you were really holding this drawing or this little watercolor sketch, you wouldn't even see it. It's very difficult to see them when you do them in the colored pencil. Now, if you're doing them with watercolor pencil, they're going to disappear. You can also use Neocolor, which I have here on the side. These are Neocolor 1. These are not the water-soluble ones. These are the regular Neocolor 1 crayons. Okay, so these are, you know, just better than Crayola. They're just really intense colors and wonderful to draw with. So I really like these. So maybe I'll do one of these, and I'll do a little bit of a study here. I'm gonna just do a small study. I'm gonna do it with the red. And then I'm just gonna draw it quick. Do a quick drawing, and this one I'm gonna do super wet. And then I'm just gonna give it places for my flowers and my leaves to go. Yeah. going to have you take a small piece of watercolor paper and we're going to fold it in half like this, and then open it back up and fold the edges toward the center. So you're going to end up with four individual segments. So 4 different places to try a different process. So, okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to choose I would choose a dark color. So I'm going to go for a dark blue for mine. I'm going for a dark blue. I mean, it could be any darker color, because that will work best. I think I even want a darker one. Is this a darker color? Yeah, dark blue. Dark blue is gonna work the best. Oh, that's a darker blue. So. All right. Now you want a very wet color, so you want to use plenty of water. Now I have in this container alcohol, and I have a little Q-tip here, cotton swab, and now I'm going to just touch that to the surface, and it makes a really beautiful mark. The alcohol creates, it doesn't show as well with like lighter colors like yellow or yellow green or orange yellow, but with the darker colors it makes a fabulous textural mark. It's just really pretty. So you can, you can use that sparingly in a painting, and it comes out really, really, really fun, right? Okay. So the other thing that's really fun to do is to take, now this is not an expensive oil pastel here by any stretch of the imagination. This is a cheap one. Now I love oil pastel, and I do have, this is like a children's oil pastel. Now I'm just going to make a little design on one of these strips with my cheapo oil pastel. So even if your children have oil pastels and you wanted to try this, you could do it with children's. This is a children's oil pastel, because I have plenty of children that come to my studio for classes. So I have all manner of cheap oil pastels. I just wanted you to see that you can use the kids' oil pastels. And I'm just making a little design on this one strip with the oil pastel. Now, I'm just going to come in here with another color. I used the dark purple. And let's see. I'm going to come in and just brush over this with another color. And I'm going to paint over it with orange, and it'll look really pretty. So oil pastel, because it's oil, obviously, is going to resist the watercolor and give you a really beautiful mark. So watercolor and oil pastel look really beautiful together, and you absolutely can use them together harmoniously. And they just look fabulous together. And that is a lot of people like to combine the two. They look beautiful, gorgeous together. Okay, now this next one almost everyone knows about. So I'm going to show you anyway, just in case you're the few people that don't. I'm going to go for another dark color. I'm getting this very rich dark green color. Again, I'm going to go for a very juicy color, very wet. You need a very wet color for this to work. I'm going to make it very, very wet. And then I'm going for, this time, I'm going to be sprinkling salt. Now, you can use any kind of salt. You can use, and for the salt to really show what it does, it needs to be dry. So I'm going to, through the magic of videography, I'm going to come back when this is bone dry and I'll show you what happens, because it really needs to be seen when it's dry. So we're going to let that dry and then you'll see what it looks like. Okay, one more to show on this page. And this one also needs to be fairly wet and looks great with a dark color. I'm going to go for a red here, I think. A dark, juicy red. And I'm going to go right here. You want it pretty wet, okay? You're going to get the best results with a wet color when you do most of these things that I'm showing you. The next thing is to apply a smattering of rice to the surface and allow it to dry. Now, I think that you probably could put any kind of dried bean or lentil or something and let it dry. I've tried lentils. Lentils work. But I'm thinking bean would work, you know, beans would work. Now you could just let that dry. And through the power of videography, we will come back and check on these after they are dry and look at the result. Okay, so now it's been 24 hours since we filmed the segment where we tried alcohol here, oil pastel and wash here. This is salt and this is rice. Okay, so now everything is perfectly dry. So I'm going to start with the rice and I'm going to start pulling it off now. And you can see what happens with rice. It gets stuck, but it's really fun when you take it off. It can leave leaves a really interesting texture. So you can do this in a painting and it comes out really cool. And you can see what it does. It's just a really interesting random pattern. Now you can also do this rice thing, like say you had done a wash of another color underneath, let it dry, completely dry, and then put down a very wet layer on top, because remember it was very wet paint, and then put rice, waited, and then when you picked it up, you would have the reveal of another color. So there's a lot of possibilities with this that you could do. So that's the rice, alcohol, rice, oil pastel. Now salt, and now you could use different kinds of salt. Let me get it. Let me see if I have an eraser. Oh, I never use erasers, but maybe I have one on my table here. Dun-dun-dun. Do I have an eraser? Yes, I do. I rarely, very rarely use erasers, but this is a good time for me to break one out. So the salt also will stick a little bit, but it leaves a beautiful, beautiful texture on your paper. Sometimes you need to coax the salt off the paper, but it looks so beautiful. And you can use different kinds of salt. This was fine pink Himalayan salt. Now you could use kosher salt or regular table salt, or you could use even the salt that you use on like the sidewalk in the wintertime to break up ice. And now this was a beautiful wash. And now we have this really lovely pattern here. Now I don't have quite all of it off, but it leaves like a gorgeous, gorgeous pattern on the paper that I just love. So a lot of artists use this, so you will see this in some watercolors, this kind of a texture, and it's always from salt. And so you can go back in here and then you can embellish this more. Any of these patterns can be embellished more with things like colored pencils, Neocolor crayon, either water soluble or not, and colored pencil regular and colored pencil watercolor pencils and stuff like that. So you can really pull out more from these techniques by using a little bit of mixed media with them on your watercolors. So this is just a jumping off point. Okay. Now I'm dying to show you this one. This is our mono print. It had weight on it overnight. It's 100% dry now. It had dandelion, cling wrap, and I had put down flowers and dandelion leaves. And we used multiple colors of watercolor here and flowers. Now, I first saw this watercolor monoprint with nature technique many years ago in an Anne Blockley watercolor book. Now, if you're from the UK, you know all about Anne Blockley, most likely, because she's a very famous watercolorist, but a lot of American artists do not know about her. And I do plan on reviewing one of her books very soon because everyone should know about her. She's wonderful, and she has very unique ways of working with watercolor. So here's our watercolor paper with a nature monoprint, which I adore these. I adore them just the way they are. This is so unique and so different with the beautiful colors right on the paper from the watercolor. Now, you could take this and you can further develop it and embellish it with regular colored pencils, Neocolor 1 or Neocolor 2 water-soluble crayons from Caran D'ache. These are just gorgeous. You can continue to work paint into them. They're absolutely gorgeous and fun to work with. And this was just dandelion leaves and dandelion flowers on top of a very wet wash that I put down multiple colors of watercolor, and then we put it under the plastic wrap with a lot of, I put weight on top of it to hold everything in place overnight, and we came up with this really gorgeous monoprint. So this can stand alone, or you can further paint into it. It's just beautiful. Thanks for coming, and I hope you enjoyed watercolor tips, tricks, and surprises. And please, if you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel, because it really does help my channel grow, and I do appreciate it so much. Thanks for being here.